Hello and welcome to Fridays with Phillip. I'm Phillip Cantrell. For those of you who don't know me, the CEO and founder of Benchmark Realty. We bring these webinars to you each month, trying to help the industry, trying to educate the industry on what the changes that are happening and update and give guidance to our affiliates so that they know which path to take when they're out there doing business and serving our clients. This month we're going to deal with the what we have learned 1 month in after the NAR lawsuit changes that came about August the 17th. We're going to talk about company updates, some local updates, and then actually some national market updates as well. So you want to stay tuned for this. Hope you can stay with us all the way through. Give you a shameless plug to be sure and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is probably where you're watching this now, at Benchmark Realty LLC. If you become a subscriber, you'll be notified automatically of new videos that we put out, and we always put out lots of content. The last couple of these Fridays with Phillips that I've done have been watched, each of them north of 1,100 times. So obviously we're helping somebody. At least somebody's interested in what we have to say. We try every time to bring good information to the marketplace. Shameless plug for our sister company, Momentum Title here. For you Benchmark affiliates, I want to remind you that patronizing our sister company helps pay for the tools that we provide for you, the free tools that we provide for you, and they are multitudinous. So if you want to see more, help Momentum Title. Just a reminder is that it is attorney owned. We do have attorneys at the closing table every time. Nothing against notaries, but we like to know when we ask a question that we're going to get an attorney answer, not a notary question answer. No fee on your first closing, no fee on your personal home, no fee to active military. 50% off veterans and first responders, 50% off your investment properties. And if they close both sides, there's only one fee. Those are ongoing benefits to doing business with Momentum. So we hope you'll give them a shot. Send your orders to orders@momentumtitletn.com or simply give them to the processor there in your office. We have a Momentum processor in most Benchmark offices, not all of them, but most of them. If you need help, give me a shout on that. Big event coming up in 1 week. 1 week to the Benchmark Expo here at the Franklin Marriott. Just a reminder that this is open to anyone in real estate. You have to buy a ticket though. You see the QR code there on the screen. It's 29 bucks. We have Jared James coming to speak to us at 12:30, but the doors actually open at 9, and we have lots of other special stuff going on. We'll talk about that in just a second, but right off the bat, here's a quickie video from Jared.
Hey everyone, in the Middle Tennessee area, Jared James here, and I'm thrilled to say that I'm going to be with you all on October 4th for a very special event brought to you by Benchmark, but not exclusive to Benchmark. It's open to everyone, but seating tickets are limited, so you need to get your ticket right away. And we're going to talk about a topic that is very relevant right now, winning in the new era of real estate. You know, unless you've had your head buried in the sand, you know that there's been a lot of changes, real changes, ones that aren't real, but everybody thinks they are, and all of these things. And you know, if your blueprint for what it takes to succeed in real estate is the same as it was 6 months ago, well, that's a problem, okay? And so I've said all along that we will not be eliminated in this industry because of change, but because of our inability to adjust or pivot to that change. And that is more true now more than ever. And so, you know, we are going to talk about, you know, how do you answer these buyers and sellers, these questions that come up? How has our strategy changed? What does it look like moving forward on a day-to-day basis? And I would tell you, come ready to laugh, have fun, be motivated, all of it. But we're going to get very practical about what it looks like moving forward. So don't wait, October 4th. I believe that we're going to be at the Franklin Marriott. October 4th, get your tickets. It's going to be a blast, guys. I promise you, you will not regret being there, but you will regret not being there. I'll see you in Franklin.
I don't know if you've heard of Jared James before, but surely you have if you're in this industry, unless you've been living under a rock somewhere. But he is a very good, wise person, and you want to come and hear what he has to say. But in addition to that, we have an awards program that's taking place beforehand. We don't do awards at Benchmark, as you know, but in this case, we have created a new set of awards. The 110% Award, the Guided by Faith Award, the Family First Award, the John Giffen Award, and Be Better, Be Benchmark honorees in each office. Then we're also recognizing those who have tenure. Those who have been here 5, 10, and 15 years will get a little pin on their placard, on their lanyard. And of course, I get all of them because I've been here since the beginning, but whatever. These awards align with our mission value statement that we have on every Benchmark conference room wall. So you want to attend those. The John Giffen Award especially is one that's kind of close to my heart. You may not know who John is, but he was the director of broker services for a number of years, principal broker after I was principal broker. Anyway, a well-known individual in the industry who passed away in 2020. And so we're going to honor him with an award there. So you want to be sure and attend these. The doors open at 9, but we want to make sure that you come early and spend time with our exhibitors, because our exhibitors are the ones that are paying for this. I know you think $29 covers it, but I'm telling you, have you priced hotel food lately? We will spend a bunch of money, and we are going to feed you. So doors open at 9. Be sure and be there. Spend some time with our exhibitors. 10:30, we have the Celebration of Benchmark Values Award Ceremony. 11:30, we have the taco bar. Who doesn't like tacos, right? And then 12:30 is Jared James. He's going to spend about an hour and a half with you, and then we will dismiss by 2 o'clock. Put a red box around your calendar. Register today. Registration closes on the 2nd. We got to know how many tacos to cook, so we got to close on the 2nd. And be sure you bring some business cards. The 70 exhibitor partners will be there. They are not all home inspectors. They have all a variety of products and services that they can partner with you on, and you want to spend some time with them. Most of them are giving away some good stuff, so you want to have a business card to give them your information. BenchmarkRealtyTN.com/expo. This is open to anybody in the real estate industry in Middle Tennessee. You're welcome to attend. Just hit that website and get you a ticket today. We'll be looking forward to seeing you there. Just a reminder that we are now open in Bowling Green and welcoming Kentucky licensees. We belong to, I think, 3 or 4 MLSs up there. So we pretty much have the southern part of Kentucky covered. And we're welcoming anybody who wants to do business with us there. Reach out to Cole Melcher. He's the principal broker of Bowling Green office. We also have the Dixon satellite location open now. So what does satellite location means? Well, it is unstaffed, unsigned, no signage workspace. Think of eSpaces or WeWork. So if you are a benchmarkian and you need a place to go and work, we've got computers there. We've got copiers, faxes, printers there. We've got Wi-Fi there. You can go there and work all day. There are a couple of offices. I think that maybe one is still available. You'll have to reach out to Victoria Thompson. You see her address there on the screen. You'll also want to reach out to her for the code to get in. But it's open 24/7, 365. So anytime you want to go there and work, you can. And Victoria can tell you more about that. We're now open, now available in Alabama as well, the northern part of Alabama. We had about 12 to 15 benchmarkians who had Alabama licenses that were with other brokers. And we said, well, that's silly. Why don't we just get a broker's license in Alabama? So we did, and we're open to anyone who has an Alabama license that wants to place it with Benchmark. Same fees, no extra costs. I mean, it's all exactly the same as if you were operating inside Tennessee. Bo at BenchmarkRealtyTN.com is your contact point on that. He can fill in the details for you. New website. We've been talking about this pretty much all year. We launched our new Bodacious website earlier this year to get capitalize on the SEO that we had built over 18 years of being on the internet. And we are getting some really good lead flow on your listing. So when your listing goes on our website, then if somebody contacts you, kind of wants to know more information about that listing, they're going to hit a box there and fill out a form, and that is going to come directly to you. Your listing, your lead. That's how it works at Benchmark. We do not intercept those. We send those directly on to you, but just a FYI, it will come to you from no-reply at unionstmedia.com. So when you see an email from that address, answer it. It's a lead. It's a legit lead on your request for information on your listing from our website. So make sure you pay attention to that. We've spent north of 30 grand this year trying to improve our web internet presence, and we want to make sure that you participate in that. Also, because of the new website, we have moved discoverbenchmark.com over to our careers page on our Benchmark Realty website. You can still type in that URL, or you can go directly to the website /careers and hit that. And a reminder that as a current affiliate, if you convince somebody to come on board at Benchmark, we'll pay you a $300 dividend, if you want to call it that, $300 bonus after that new agent has been here for 60 days. You want to connect them to Bo Zvac. You see his address there on the screen. Bo's a handy dandy fellow to know around here. But anyway, Bo can connect them to a principal broker of their choice. Works best for them geographically, or you can just refer them to your principal broker. Either way, but you have to make sure that when they join us, they put your name on the form so you can get that $300 bonus once they've been here for 60 days. Our parent company, United Real Estate, is making noise. We're happy to see that we are now the #1 highest agent compensation of all companies, fee-based companies, publicly traded companies. We return the highest amount of revenue to our agents, and I'll show you more about that in just a second. But that's a big deal. #1, we're the fastest growing real estate brokerage in America, according to Real Trends Verified. That's an independent agency that verifies all the numbers that we submit. So we're #1, 727% growth over 5 years. That's pretty bodacious, as they say. We're notified or recognized as the RIS Media Power Broker in the top 0.01% of all brokerages in America. And then we continue our tracking with the Inc. 5000 membership recognition 8 years in a row now. So 8 times we've been recognized in the Inc. 5000. Those are pretty big accolades that hopefully you're using them in your listing presentation and your buyer rep presentations to understand our organization and help your buyer client, your seller client understand our organization better and how well we can serve their needs. We've been talking about financial wellness for quite some time here. We did a pilot program in Benchmark and two other sister companies last July, and then we launched it to the whole entire United Real Estate organization January of this year, or February of this year, really. And the main emphasis here is because we want you to understand that our commitment to your well-being goes way beyond just your transaction count and just beyond the commissions that you generate. We are concerned as a holistic approach for the affiliate who has their license with Benchmark and United Real Estate. And we do that in 4 main ways. And there's a 5th one I'll explain in just a second. But the first one is we give you all your money. 100% commission. We're a fee-based operation. We'll talk about each of these individually. The second is healthcare insurance, that we've created an opportunity for you to purchase reasonably priced healthcare insurance through Clearwater Benefits. The third one is financial literacy, teaching you how to handle money. Everybody says they know money, but trust me, I'm going to show you some numbers in a second that proves you don't understand money. So that is important to understand how money works, how to get out of debt, how to build your financial freedom is critically important in today's world. And the fourth is wealth management. Once you have a little stockpile accumulated, how to effectively deploy that so it changes your family tree. These all are in combination together. The 5th one, which will be coming later, is dependent upon our revenue from the healthcare insurance. We get a very small stipend from each policy that an affiliate purchases. That money is now going into a bucket of savings, and those savings will be utilized toward charitable reinvestment. And at this point, it's probably going to be a scholarship fund for your children. So the whole concept here is life cycle of the individual and changing the family tree. That is what we're focused on as an organization in total. So let's kind of step into each of these just a little bit. I'm going to go through these really fast, but the first pillar is the money. Okay, 100% commission. You can see right there. This is a chart that was derived by research of a professor in Colorado, Mike Del Prete. You may know his name, seen him talking at Inman Connect and other places, but he did an analysis of all the larger real estate companies in America who returned the most revenue of every dollar earned to their agents, to their affiliates. And United Real Estate, as you can see right here on top, is the top. 96% of every dollar that came into this company was returned, went directly to the affiliate instead of being retained by the organization. Of course, the lowest down here is Douglas Elliman. They only returned 77%. Compass at 81%, Realty One at 93%. Fathom is right behind United at 95%, but I have a feeling they're a lot less now because they just changed their plans. Regardless, that's a fundamental element. That's the first column of financial wellness. The second column is healthcare. If you don't have healthcare insurance, you're swinging from a trapeze with no net underneath you. You're one catastrophic event away from bankruptcy if you don't have healthcare insurance. So we arranged through Clearwater Benefits to create a program that allows 1099 affiliates to actually purchase healthcare insurance under a group type plan. We also have available HSAs, PPO networks, dental, vision, major medical, accident, critical illness. And then Amaze Healthcare is part of it, and it's the teledoc stuff. So if your kid gets sick, you can call the doctor, maybe not have to visit the doctor. It's a good program. It is pretty simple to sign up to figure out if you want to do this. One word of caution is there's another company called United Healthcare, and that is not affiliated with this program at all. This program is ureghealthcare.com. You want to go there, make an appointment, talk to them, and if you're on a better plan, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you. They're not going to put you on a marketing program. They're not going to scare you to death. They're going to have an honest conversation with you. ureghealthcare.com that you see right here on the screen. The third pillar of the financial wellness program is Smart Dollar. Smart Dollar is a Ramsey Solutions product that is only available through your employer. And I have air quotes on that because it's 1099. You're not an employee, but you do receive income here. You cannot get this on your own. And if you leave Benchmark, you get cut off. Sorry, it's the way it works. We're paying a lot of money for this program. What is it? It's financial literacy. It's learning how to handle money, how to get out of debt, how to build savings, how to plan for the future, how to plan for your college education, your kids' college education. It's a mobile friendly system, and you can access it anywhere. And everybody says, well, I don't need financial literacy. I drive a white Mercedes. I know what money means. Well, apparently you don't, because we are drowning in debt. Financial literacy matters so much, and it's increasingly so. Total consumer debt is now nearly $18 trillion in America today. That's an increase of over $100 billion in the last quarter. We are drowning in debt as a society. This program can help you reverse that for you. We can't change all of society, but we can change it for you. And that's what it does. And it works. We have so far, in the 10 months that we've rolled this out to the main population of United Real Estate, 1,358 users who have experienced nearly a $3 million financial turnaround. $3 million financial turnaround with $1.1 million of debt paid off. And that's, I didn't make my truck payment this month. It means I paid my truck off this month. That's what debt eliminated means, okay? And then total savings added of nearly $2 million. Those are big numbers. Those are really big numbers. And I want to give you a note of confidence here that when you're interacting with this system, all of your personal information is 100% confidential. Your banking information, your credit card information, your debt information is 100% confidential until you input a total amount into the system. And then that's all we can see. Your name, your information, your address, email address, and then the debt you paid off and total savings. We can also see your activity on the system, how many videos you've watched, how many worksheets you've gone through, how many budgets you've developed. We can't see the budget, but we can see that you've worked the budget. So those are important things to understand. It's really easy to sign up. All you have to do is go to the Benchmark Dash, which all of you are well familiar with now, I'm sure. Click on the little light bulb looking icon or tile down there and enter UREG is when it asks for the company keyword. Word of note here is that you must be using the email that we have in our system. You can't be using another email because it won't identify you. You can put in UREG all day long. If you got the wrong email, the one that we don't have, it won't recognize you, won't let you in. But if you do have a problem, give us a shout. The fourth column of the pillar of the financial wellness is financial planning. We have created a connection with Creative Planning in Overland Park, Kansas, to help you develop your long-term financial strategy once you have some funds accumulated. Brandon Severino is the contact. You can hit that QR code and it will connect his information to your phone, and you can drop him an email. This is a for-pay service, but it's a very effective service. We've had several people, several affiliates that have participated in it, and they've come to us and said, look, I'm going to be able to retire 3 years earlier than I thought because I've gotten the help that I need from Creative Planning. We even had some that said, I can actually retire now, and I never anticipated that I would be able to. So these are big events. Again, you're going to pay them. We don't make a dime on it, but it is a service for you, and it's a very effective service. If you need wills, you need trust, you need estate planning, you need revocable family trust set up, they can do all that. They have attorneys on staff. They have CPAs on staff. Reach out to them. This is not the local guy on the corner. This is a serious financial planning organization, probably one of the largest in the United States now. So those are the four columns. And then the fifth column is the charitable reinvestment trust. As I mentioned earlier, we get a little bit off of each life insurance, off of each healthcare policy that's sold. And we put that money in a bucket. We don't just throw it on our P&L and call it our money. It's your money still. So we're going to give it back to you in the form of probably scholarships, educational scholarships for your kids. We don't have that plan fully developed yet, but it is a fifth column, and we are intent on doing it, and we will do it as we can, as we have enough money accumulated and as we can. So that's the end of the commercials. That's the end of the company updates. Now we're going to get into the company numbers. For those of you who have not seen this before, typically what I will do is I will show this the month the year before, and then how we did this month with a comparison. And then we also give inventory numbers and then affiliate count numbers. So let's get into that. Since we didn't do one of these programs in August, you don't know what July's numbers were. So I'm going to give you in this today, I'm going to give you July and August. So let's start with July. July of 2023, you can see on the screen there, 344 million in sales, real estate sold that you guys sold. We paid 8.5. We processed $8.5 million in commissions, 726 transactions. Comparing that to 2024, you can see we're up. We're up in July. We're up 25.3%. We're up on gross sales. We're up 20.3% on gross commissions processed. Transaction count, we're up 23.1%. Our sales price was only up slightly, but that's Benchmark's average sales price increase 1.7%. The part that we want to focus on is this part right here. How did we do compared to the market? And how we did compared to the market was we slaughtered it. We were nearly 25% ahead of the market because the market was actually down 1.5%. We were up 23.1%. So you'd add those two together, you get 24.6% swing between us and the market. So well done, Benchmark. Well done. Inventory is up about 1% month over month and up 10.2% year over year for the end of July. And then affiliate count is up 10.3% year over year from the end of July. Moving on into August, we do the same process and comparison. You can see there the 2023 numbers. You can see now the 2024 numbers, and that we are up 11.7% on gross sales, up 6.8% on commissions processed, and transaction count up 8.9%. Again, focusing on benchmark transaction count versus the market transaction count. And by the way, the market is the Greater Nashville MSA. It's what I'm using here, and those are directly from the RealTracs information they give us every month. Showed that the market was down 10.8% and we were up 8.9%. So that's a 21%, roughly a 21% swing difference between us and the market. So well done. Well done. Inventory was again up quite a bit, actually 24.6% year over year. And then the affiliate count maintained that steady increase of 10.4% ahead of the end of August last year. We were at 1,693 affiliates. By the way, as I record this on the 25th, we are now over 1,700 affiliates. So we've broken through that magical 1,700 mark, and we're moving forward on that. Year to date, how do we look? Year to date last year at the end of August 31, we were at 2.6 billion in gross real estate sales. Had paid 66 million in commissions on 5,734 transactions. You can see this year we are up 2.9 billion. Had paid 71 million in commissions on 5,974. The percentages, again, are what we're interested in, and then the market comparison is what we're interested in. You see green across the board except for the market. The market is down 3.5. We're up 4.3 year to date at the end of August. So that means we're up about 8% above the market. So well done again. Picture tells 1,000 words. These are graphs showing 2017 to 2024 benchmark only. You can see here that 2024 is peaking right here, and this is for gross sales. Benchmark is peaking right here beneath 2022 and 2021, which were the outliers, the hugely, tremendously successful years that were just really abnormal. So we have risen above the years prior to that. 2023, we're way above 2023. Same thing on transaction count. You can see it peaking up here. And then on, I'm sorry, beg your pardon, that was gross commissions. And then on transaction count, you can see it hiding in there behind 2023. So we're tracking just a little bit ahead of last year, as we saw on the numbers just before. Okay, so that's benchmark. Now we talk about national market update. And national market update, we've had a lot happening here with the Fed changes and all that, the leading and the lagging indicators, and we try to figure out where we're going and what's going to happen. And bottom line is we really don't know, but I'm going to try to explain some of this. Let's start with August existing home sales. And you can see if you strike a line across there, we're basically bumping along the bottom. This is a 2-year view that you see on the screen, 3.86 million annualized. That is slightly off the bottom of October of 23, where we were at, December of 23, where we are at 8.5 million annualized sales. That's down 4.2 year over year, 4.2% year over year, down 2.5% month over month. And here comes the siren. I hope you can't hear it. 10-year existing home sales, you got to back up and look at the picture. You see a different picture when you back up from it, but you can see here August 2014 to August 2024. And if you strike a line across there again, you can see that it we're basically bumping along the bottom. These are the 6 million annualized sales and years right here. And then you see the averages back here. We're way below what we consider average normalized market. The median home price again was up 3.1% year over year. I'm showing you a year over year line here, showing August 23 to August 24. And again, we're right up here at the highest median home price on record ever. We're still higher than we're not as high as June of 24 or July of 24, but we're still high. And it's getting higher, it seems. We'll talk about that in just a second. Inventory is building. The inventory has begun to come back. You can see if you strike a line across here where we are at the top, 1.35 million homes of not just single family homes, but properties for sale. That's 40% higher than it was just 12 months ago. So we now have high inventory, high median home prices, and low volume. That portends that we have a home price problem. We're going to dive into that just a little bit, but inventory nationally is up 22.7%. You saw that our inventory was up correspondingly to that as well. Single family homes, you can see that while we are below 2019, 2017, 2018, we are still way above 20 through 23. We're up here at 37% higher than last year just on national single family homes. However, showings have increased. Showings now appear to be tracking very similarly to 2022. You can see that's what this line is right here. And if you look at this trend pattern, it follows very closely to 2022. It's still below 2020, which was a total outlier, bizarre year, but we're above 2023. So activity is good. The people are out there moving around, whether they're actually closing on the properties or not. They're doing a lot of looking around, and you got to look before you buy, right? You can't buy something unless you've seen it online or in a store. You don't buy something unless you've seen it. So that's what's happening there. And then now all I could say is thank goodness that you live in the South. 45% of all real estate transactions in the month of August were in the South, the Southern United States. I'm glad you don't live in the Northeast, because they seem to be suffering a little bit up there. Switching tracks just a little bit, we had some big news here the other day where the Fed decided to cut interest rates by 50 bips, 50 basis points, which is 1/2 of 1%. Now, you have to understand what all this means, and I'm going to try to explain it. So hang with me for just a second, because there is a whole lot of misinformation flying around out there, not the least of which you see on the screen there, that people immediately started screaming mortgage rates are going to drop, mortgage rates are going to drop, mortgage rates are going to drop. Well, guess what? They didn't drop. They didn't drop. In fact, they actually went up after the Fed announcement, because here's the newsflash for you. The Fed does not set mortgage rates. They set funds rates, and bonds are based on funds rates, and mortgage rates are based on bonds. And that's a kind of a complex relationship, which I'm going to go into. But essentially, it was already baked in. The funds decline was already baked in. You can see as early as May that rates began to decline. And see, mortgage rates are based on the price of 10-year securities. They're not based on the Fed funds rates. They're based on securities, treasuries. Investors had already priced in this latest one. The two generally move together, the 10-year versus the 30-year mortgage. You can see how they track relatively closely together. So when one moves, the other moves. And the treasuries are sort of dependent upon the Fed funds rate, but not directly. It's almost a little confusing. But they do trend together. So what you want to watch is the 10-year treasury rate to predict what the mortgage rates are going to do. And if the treasury rate is already dropping, then you know that the 10-year yields are already dropping, then they were already anticipating the Fed rate cuts. Now, if the Fed had not done a 50 bip drop, it would have been all bets are off. If they had done more than 50 bips, it would have been all bets are off, and it would have been wildly different. But it wasn't. It was expected. It was planned. It was anticipated. Logan Montashami, he's a great guy. I have a hard time pronouncing his name. I'm sorry if I boogered that and you know him. I've met him a couple of times, and I listened to a lot of his stuff. He's a Housing Wire economist. And his question that you see on the screen here, and this is his words that I'm quoting here, or what's happening in the market and what is going to happen going forward. And the question for him is it going to be a soft landing or a recession? Because we're kind of at that pivot point. We're kind of at a crisis, almost at a crisis point, to be honest with you. But if you're confused about it, here's what he says: the bond market gets ahead of the Fed. The labor market has been softer with the data's intervals since the end of 2023. So the Fed is now beginning to be concerned about unemployment rates. Okay, unemployment rates are beginning to act funny, and they're becoming concerned about that more so potentially than inflation. Inflation is still a concern, but not. It's moving out of the prime spotlight focus, and the labor market is moving into more of a spotlighted focus. 10-year yield is currently 3.74, up from yesterday's lows. This was obviously this past Friday, and slightly higher from the close. For mortgage rates to go lower, we need to see three things. One is mortgage spreads get better, meaning that the investors can price their products closer to what the rate is going to be that they have to borrow money on. Economic and labor data getting softer, meaning the economy getting worse, for lack of a better description, and then the Fed getting more dovish with their statements, showing a willingness to do more to help the economy stay out of recession. I think they kind of, the problem with the Fed is they have a tendency to overshoot. They act too late, and then they overcompensate. That's a historical pattern throughout the Fed decisions, and that may be what's happening here. It may be a little too little, a little too late for this recent drop. But we shall see. We shall see. The conclusion about the housing market, though, about mortgage rates is the average interest rate on a 30-year mortgage has fallen from 7.8 to 6.2 in a matter of months. And so it did it without the Fed doing anything. And that's the point. The Fed doesn't control mortgage rates. The the investors control the mortgage rates because they price the product according to the cost of their money. So they had anticipated a drop, and they began to price it in already, yet mortgage demand remains near 30-year lows. Even as rates come down, buyers are still not willing to step into the market. They're out there looking, but they're not actually biting. It's kind of like going fishing. You put your line in the water and nobody bites, but you know there's fish down there. You know there's water out there. You know there's bait on the hook. So it's only a matter of time before sellers, and this is the bait that's really going to get the buyers to bite. Sellers need to drop prices to begin spurring demand. Prices at home in America, our home prices in America today are simply too high. Rate cuts will not impact a housing crisis. So we could potentially, if prices don't begin to fall, we could potentially have a housing crisis in this country. We already have affordable housing crisis. We know that, and that's bleeding now over into medium price homes as well. You can see mortgage rates and how they act here on this blue line on the illustration, and you can see mortgage demand, purchase applications. You got a little bit of a bump down here after the rate, after things kind of calmed down, but still it's kind of bumping along the bottom. It's not really going north like everybody would like for it to do. And the reason is it's not the rate, it's the price. Home prices in America are too high. They have to come down. Even if we give back, and I said this in my July presentation, even if we give back half of the increase we've had, it's still a 10 or 15, 20% decline in current home prices. And everybody claims that's catastrophic. Well, let's look at where home prices have come from so we can understand that better. Home price appreciation in 4 years. Here it is. Tennessee up 65% in 4 years. That's Tennessee as a whole, not just Nashville. Tennessee up 65%. If you were to take just the last 2 quarters and annualize them for this year, you would come out, our home price appreciation this year should be 8.1%. That's still an increase. We don't need another increase. We need a decline. We need to ease on these prices. In Nashville, it's gone crazy. Nashville is up 204%, 203% in just 4 years. That's over double in just 4 years. That's unsustainable, and it's got to change. Well, why has that occurred? And a lot of people ask that. It just doesn't make sense. We talked about it in the past. Lots of cheap money, and we'll talk about that here again in just a second. But the main culprit is that household income has not kept pace with the rise in home prices for many, many years. The pretty graph you see on the screen there is actually ends in 2022. You can see up there at the top. But the main point is to show you this differential, how home prices have continued to rise dramatically, and yet incomes have not. They have risen, but they have not risen dramatically. Further evidence is that this is a home price to income ratio. How many years of income does it take to afford a median priced home in America? Well, in 1985, it was 3.5, and now it's 6.3. You can see these here. This is the housing crisis that we had in 2008 right here. This is COVID right here. But other than that, it's been pretty much a continuous northward spiral, northward trajectory, upward trajectory. 6.3 years to pay for a median price home in America today. Most people can't do that. That's a problem. Well, why is that happening? Here's why. This red line is inflation. The blue line is the M2 money supply. The Fed has increased the M2 money supply 145% since 2020. 4 years. 4 years, they've increased the money supply 145%. That's 2.5 times since 2020. And while at the same time, Congress has spent money like a drunk sailor. Here's inflation right here. Here's the COVID spending that you see circled there in orange. And they've continued their spending while inflation continued the upward momentum. When you have more of something, each one is worth less. It's a fundamental economic truth. You have a lot of something, each one is worth less. So really, what they've done here is eviscerated the purchasing power of the US dollar by nearly 20%. And you could say from that home prices really haven't gone up. It's the purchasing power of the dollar that has gone down by 20%. To clarify, M2 money supply is cash on hand, all deposits, all checking accounts, CDs, savings accounts, all of it in total, up 145%. The conclusion then is until prices come down, the market will continue to bounce along the bottom at 3.8 to 4 million existing home sales per year. That seems like a harsh truth, but it is a fundamental truth, and I'd rather tell you about it than you get discouraged and wonder why in the world. More importantly, your clients need to understand this, of what's happening out here. Yeah, I would love to get twice what I paid for my house last year when I go to sell it, but it's just not feasible, and they have to understand this. That's why your comps are so critically important, and the way you do comps are so critically important. Anything more than 45 days old, 45 days is the maximum duration on any comp that is valid. That's how rapidly this market is moving. So you want to do that. Now, here's the good news. This is going to cause the part-timers to fall out and at the same time create tremendous market opportunity for those who continue to lean into the headwinds and to understand what's going on and are true business people and can manage their business appropriately. So we're kind of wiping away the extra stuff, and now we're getting to the good stuff. We are becoming the professionals in this industry, and we have an opportunity to shine instead of being diluted by those who really don't know what they're doing. And there's a lot of them out there. Not to be critical of any single person or any single brokerage, there is a lot of them out there that really just don't know what they're doing in real estate. Speaking of that, we're going to switch over to what we have learned since the rules came into effect. The new rules came into effect on August 17th. And specifically what I'm referring to are the NAR settlement rules enactment deadline. We've talked about them quite a bit. We started talking about them last year. We really started hitting it hard this year, and then really began to drill down on the training in May, in June, in July. And that's why we didn't do this webinar in August, because we were so heavily involved in the training of to deal with these rule changes. So I'm going to try to distill it down for you. There's some main points to remember here. There were a lot of rules that were included in the settlement, but the three main ones you need to remember, we're going to go into each of these a little bit more. No compensation anywhere in the MLS, meaning nowhere. No comments, no flyers, no nothing. Buyer representatives must have an agreement signed before showing a property. Talk about that in a second too. Buyer broker compensation is worked out inside the agreement negotiated between seller and the buyer. And we're going to come back to that as well. Transparency and full disclosure are the bywords of our business today. Another misnomer that we've come across several times is that everybody thinks that these rules are law, that the laws changed. Well, no laws have changed. The NAR settlement that inflicted the new rules is not the law. It is a private agreement between litigating parties to settle a lawsuit. We, because we are NAR members, are included in those rule changes and required to abide by them, or else we lose our coverage under the settlement agreements. Pretty simple stuff, but it's not the law. A significant amount of the emerging issues, though, that we're seeing in the market stems from agents and brokerages trying to figure out ways around the new rules. They're trying to skirt the rules, trying to chip and chisel and get back to the way it was, and they need to stop. Another point to cover here is that this is not just about buyer representation. I've heard that so many times. Well, that impacts the buyer side. All I do is listing, so it doesn't concern me. That is absolutely false. That will get you in trouble with that philosophy. Listing agents have a critically important role to play in this process and in these conversations. In fact, I'm going to kind of focus on that for a minute. Conversations to have with your seller. That's critically important to set this up so that your seller understands what possibly could happen, so that they're not surprised, and so that you don't go off on a trail that they don't want you to go off on. So it's all about conversation and communication, and conversation and communication, and conversation and communication. The listing agent has a strong responsibility here to explain a few potential compensation scenarios with the seller, and then to leave negotiations to the time when there's actually an offer on the table. We have a bad propensity in this business to try to negotiate ahead of time for our seller, thinking we're protecting our seller's rights, and that is totally false. The seller and the buyer are the two who negotiate. We advise them, yes. We counsel them, yes. We inform them of possible outcomes, yes. But we are not the parties in the agreement. The buyer and the seller are the parties in the agreement. I see that a lot. So it's important conversations. I'm going to give you 3 scripts here that will help you talk to your seller because it's not being done very much, and we need to do it more often. So here's the first one. And this is, again, at the listing appointment, when you're talking to him, so you're no longer required to provide a predetermined compensation for a buyer's agent. In fact, there is no longer a field on the MLS to show what the compensation could be. And there are now some very strict rules around how any such fee may be communicated to a buyer's agent. That sets the stage for the whole thing, does it not? By the way, if you're a benchmark I'm going to have all of this slide deck posted on the dash shortly after you watch this on YouTube. on Friday morning. So don't fear that you have to scribble stuff down real fast. You can go there, get this slide deck. You can actually take these slides and drop them into your presentation if you want to. That's your call. I'm just trying to give you the information. Another conversation to have with your sellers, even if you preset a fee or choose not to provide any concession, a buyer has the right to include a request for compensation in their offer, regardless of what you might or might not be offering. It's a negotiation. Every negotiation is fluid until we finish, put a period at the end of the sentence, and everybody signs it, right? So don't go in. What we're saying here is drop the preconceived notion of, I don't want to pay any buyer agent compensation. You don't know what that seller's going to do when he's actually got an offer in front of him. When he's actually got a piece of paper, a bona fide offer in front of him, and you shouldn't cloud his mind. And you should need to make sure that they understand they shouldn't cloud their mind with preconceived notions of what they're going to do or not going to do. Okay? You don't know. You don't know until the end. And another counsel here is when we receive an offer, it is possible it will contain a request for some form of concession to a buyer from which they can compensate their agent. Since we do not know in advance what that might be, once an offer arrives, you have the opportunity to negotiate any and all terms of the offer. That concession to help pay the buyer agent is a term of the offer. It's negotiable. It's right there in the offer. Once we have an offer based on what they may or may not be requesting, then we can decide what we're going to do and respond accordingly. And those are critical conversations to have with your seller to set that up, because invariably you're going to get the person who says, well, I read in the Wall Street Journal where I don't have to pay any buyer commission anymore, and I'm not going to. All the seller cares about is selling their home. All the buyer cares about is buying a home. Our job is to be the conduit through which that transaction occurs. Keep them within the boundaries of what's proper and appropriate to make sure your client is protected, but not to, let me clarify that. Protection does not mean abuse of the other side. Protection means advisement. It does not mean to be a bully of the other party. It means to advise yours so they don't make mistakes. That's it. That's your job. Don't overcomplicate that. Don't overthink it. And for heaven's sakes, don't participate in the stupid. This is a social media comment from a party who is a consumer protection group outside of the industry. And they're seeing repeatedly agents refusing to show homes unless they get a certain commission. That's a huge red flag. Buyers and sellers deserve better. Demand ethical representation. This is the theme throughout all media in America today, is that realtors or agents are unethical. Some may be, but if you are informed and you communicate properly, you won't be considered in that class. I can promise you that. And if you do decide to participate in the stupid, then know that others are watching you. The DOJ and the plaintiff attorneys, they are watching you like a hawk. The plaintiff attorneys now have a $1 billion war chest in settlement funds. The DOJ is intent on making sure our industry changes. Attorney General Merrick Garland, who you see on the screen there, and you may put your thumbs in your suspenders and say, well, he's history come November. Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't really matter. First of all, the change wouldn't happen until January. And then you have this huge, gargantuan bureaucratic organization, the DOJ. There's no way that organization is going to change just because one person left or even one series of people left. The processes and plans are already being implemented, and it will take 12, 14, 16 months for that organization to change track, assuming we do change track. This is not a snap your fingers and the change is going to happen. They're still going to be out there. They're still going to be watching. They've still made it very clear that they are dissatisfied with the settlement agreements, that the settlement agreements do not go far enough. So I'm issuing these cautions as clearly as I possibly can. Primarily because, and I'm saying this, Benchmark is with the 2 billion plus club. So we were excluded from the highly touted NAR settlement, all right? It didn't cover us one bit. United Real Estate had to go cut our own deal with the plaintiff attorneys to make sure we had a settlement coverage. But know this, If you violate the rules as an agent, you automatically void the coverage for you and your brokerage. So even if you're a smaller brokerage and you think, well, I don't have to worry about it, I got coverage from the NAR settlement. No, you don't. If you're going to be stupid, you need to be really careful about that and really thoughtful when you make decisions and say things out in public. More importantly, how you conduct your business. A prime problem are these apps that are popping up where agents can go on there and publish the compensation offered with the listing. Specifically, the settlement agreement said, and I quote, agree not to create, facilitate, or support any non-MLS mechanism for listing brokers or sellers to make offers of compensation to buyer brokers or other buyer representatives. Did you hear what I said? These apps are a violation of the settlement agreement. Participation in those apps voids your coverage under the settlement agreements. Think about that. We also have a lot of stupidity going on one-to-one. This is copies of 2 text messages here. The one on the left came to me through a friend in another marketplace. The one on the right is one of our affiliates. So the one on the left is the showing was as feedback for a showing, and the one on the right is from buyer rep when setting up a showing. Okay, so let's walk through these. Obviously, the lighter blue is the other party, and the darker blue is the listing agent. So just finished in the event the homeowner. So this was a showing, right? I'm reading the one on the left. Just finished in the event that homeowner would like to come home. Thank you. How did it go? It was nice showing. Anticipate hearing back from the wife later on today. Thank you. The next day, from the showing agent, my clients are going to pass. Just so you know, not to wait. Lovely home. I have to be honest in telling you that my buyers are looking at paying out 2.7% buy-side commission on their home they list to maximize their buyer pool and are not interested in paying for it again on their purchase. This is the primary reason they're walking away from the home. I highlighted that. Listing agent, all you had to do was ask in the purchase agreement for us to pay the fee. I can't believe you just wrote that. Showing agent still doesn't understand. I'm just being honest with you. They didn't want to play games. Who's playing games here? All you had to do was put it in the offer, let the buyer and the seller negotiate it out. Brokers, get out of the way. Let the clients decide what the clients want to do and stop predetermining their path on this process, or you are going to get busted. The one on the right is a benchmark agent that received this. In this case, again, the darker blue is the benchmark agent. The lighter blue is the showing agent. This was the agent that was setting up a showing. So this is ahead of time. There was questions obviously asked about hunting, and they go through that. And the showing agent says, do you have comps you share? You're welcome to pull comps. It's definitely priced right, especially once you see it. Then the showing agent and the proposed showing agent says it's being recommended by brokers that the compensation agreement be shared between brokers prior to showing and putting it in an offer. Is Benchmark not recommending that? More so before an offer is put in, not necessarily before a showing, but some agents are doing it before a showing, but I don't have to. I would like to request a showing, blah, 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 blah. So he or she at least got over the conversation that her broker was telling her that she needed to submit or get a comp agreement before she showed a house. He showed a house. I don't know whether he or she. That's wrong. Comp agreement is a form that TAR decided to leave in the library. If we're working everything out within the confines of the purchase and sale agreement, we don't need a comp form. That form should go away. It needs to not be there. And first of all, why would you have a comp agreement that you don't have a contract already to base it on? That's ludicrous. Obviously, you can communicate, well, we have X amount planned in for a buyer comp, but put in your offer what you might need. They may come back with a number that's lower than what your sellers decided to offer. Then who's going to be at fault for breaching their fiduciary responsibility to their seller? You. Think about it. We don't provide comp agreements at Benchmark, and we strongly recommend that no one else ask for them or provide them because they are a useless form right now. Work it out inside the confines of the purchase and sale agreement. Embrace the shift from a broker-centric model to a consumer-centric model. I keep saying this. Brokers are not driving the bus anymore. Quit trying to go back to that. It's going to get you in trouble. The buyer broker sets their services and fees to work with the buyer. The listing broker sets their services and fees to work with the seller. Fair enough? You with me? Offer negotiation terms happen outside the MLS. You don't have any comp, any concessions, any commissions inside the MLS. And the purchase agreement governs the distribution of all fees. Let the buyer and the seller work it out inside the purchase and sale agreement. If your buyer has already, if your seller has already said, I will offer X amount for a buyer representative, we've got it built in the price. At this price, I will provide this. How do you communicate that to a potential buyer rep? That's something you probably want to do, just to say, hey, we've got some negotiability here. Well, you can't say it in the MLS, but you can toggle on the seller concessions field. You know, they changed this. You got an email on it where you can toggle it on, toggle it off, indicating that the seller is offering concessions, but you can't any longer fill in a dollar amount. That field is now inert. You can see it, but you can't click on it to type anything in it. Okay. Toggling it on indicates a willingness to negotiate. This is the change that RealTrax has made. I don't know that we were solely responsible for it, but we kept hammering on it from the very first time they announced they were going to do this. We said that's a bad idea because agents will not know what goes in that second field. They will put all manner of things in there. Another option for you is put something in private remarks along the lines of courtesy to buyer broker. Or you can even do a little flyer and put it in with your documents. So something like what you see on the screen there. Welcome buyer brokers. We welcome you. We're willing to negotiate with you. We're willing to work with you. The seller welcomes you to submit a request for buyer broker compensation as a term of your offer. And then also you can even put it on a sign writer, courtesy to buyer brokers. You don't want to put a percent out there. You don't want to put a commission. Using the words compensation and commission should be out of your vocabulary now. Just forget about them. We're talking about concessions and courtesies and what the buyer and the seller negotiate. But in the end, it all boils down to having a very informed conversation with your buyer and your seller ahead of time. Don't wait until something is in your face and you're panicking and scratching around trying to figure out what you're going to say. Talk to them ahead of time. Most importantly, talk to your seller about what are they going to do when an unrepresented buyer shows up. That's a whole other conversation that they need to be prepared to have because it is happening and it may very well happen to them and they need to be aware of it and think ahead of time of how they're going to respond. But in the end, as I said, all the seller wants is to sell a house. All the buyer wants is to buy the house. Figure it out. It's that simple. Compensation is now included in the offer, and you basically have 3 ways to get paid. It's really simple. Seller can pay the buyer broker, buyer can pay the buyer broker, listing broker can pay the buyer broker. There's taking those 3 ways and massaging it around inside the purchase and sale agreement. There are 1,000 different ways to do it. And it's best to do it in plain English. Just put it in the offer, be specific on who gets paid, by whom, and when. And more importantly, there's no need to use the comp agreement if the comp is detailed in the contract. We have already changed our checklists on dot loop and on the dash. Transaction Desk has had our change since September 3rd. It's now the 27th, and we haven't seen the change yet. So it's still showing up. The comp agreement is still showing as a required form, even though we've changed our checklist. It is not a required form. It is moved down to the optional section. Okay. You want to use it, fine, but I don't think it's superfluous. It's double work. It could also get you in trouble because if you got a comp agreement, which is broker to broker, and you've got a purchase and sale agreement, which is client to client, one changes. How are you going to change the other? It's different parties. Okay. Get rid of the comp agreement, TAR. Get rid of the comp agreement. You don't need it. When you're writing stuff in special stipulations on who gets paid by whom, we've installed company clauses now. We've had them in there. We just massaged them around to make them as plain and generic as possible. But whatever you write, just write it in plain English. The test for proper language in clause writing is if your file fell out here on the street and you got run over by a bus, heaven forbid, you weren't there to explain everything in that file. Could anybody put that file up and understand fully exactly what the intention was in everything in that file? Write it to a 12-year-old level. If a 12-year-old can read it and understand it, you've written it on the right level. And that's my encouragement. That's what we've done here. Nothing fancy. You're not an attorney unless you are. You're not, most of us are not attorneys, so don't try to play one on TV. Just write it in plain English so that everybody understands what the intent is and they can understand it without you being there to explain it. Remember, buyer reps, you got to have a written agreement before you walk into a house. That's either a touring agreement or a buyer rep agreement. The touring agreement is simply for the situations where somebody calls you at 5 o'clock on a Friday. They want to see a house at 10 on Saturday. You've never met them before. You got to have a piece of paper signed before you show them the house. The touring agreement details out what the intentions are and what the relationship is without being a full buyer representation agreement. It also says that if we decide to do business together, we're going to do a buyer representation agreement that details out everything else. Points that we've had asked over and over again. If you're a listing agent, buyer wants to see your house, show the house. You don't have to have anything signed. Your obligation is to the seller. Open houses, these are not required. Nothing is required. You're showing the house. Does not replace the buyer rep agreement. Big red across your screen there. Had a question asked of me a while ago. Well, what if I have unrepresented buyers that want to see a property? My suggestion would be, if you've got a group of them and you're the listing agent, you've got a group of them saying, I will have a unpublished open house from 2 to 4 on Saturday. If you'd like to come see the property, you may view it then. How's that for simple? Simple solution. Buyer rep agreement, as you know, must detail out exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to get paid. You cannot accept more compensation than what's in the agreement, and it cannot be open-ended. It's got to predate the offer. 1 hour is predate the offer. If you don't have one, you don't get paid. That's the new rule. I didn't make it up, but we got to live by it, because if we get audited and we don't have one, we've got a problem. And I'm not going to risk that for you. Sorry. I am happy to say, though, that we're 100% compliant. For the last 30 days, we've been hitting on all cylinders. Since really before the August 17th rule actually came into play, we've been hitting on all cylinders. So I'm very proud of you guys for doing that very well. Good job. What we've learned overall, just kind of stepping back now, looking at the whole conversation strategically, is that the rules have been confused and confusing, but markets are always logical. The marketplace is going to work this out over time. There's a lot of misinformation out there, driven by the media, social media. It's a ton of untrained agents and brokers, and that's a shame. But I want to tell you, benchmarkians, listen to our guidance. NAR does not control your license. TAR does not control your license. The local association does not control your license. Social media does not control your license. Your buddy over at the other brokerage does not control your license. Benchmark controls your license, and your principal broker is your go-to source for all this information. They are extremely well trained. That is your first and last information source for the changes. Do not take your guidance from anyone else, especially these stupid closed groups on social media. Ours is different because it is controlled by our brokers. Our brokers are answering your questions or guiding you through a process. The others are not. You have people who are wannabe brokers that couldn't be a broker trying to advise you on how to do your deal. And by the way, when you're standing in front of a judge, that person's not going to be standing there with you. In our case, if you've taken our advice and you wind up in front of a judge, we're going to be standing there with you. That's how this works, y'all. Be confident about this. Keep the rules in mind, and the marketplace will work this out over time. And many brokerages are simply making things way too complex. They're way overthinking it. They haven't delved into it. They haven't studied it like we have. They don't know what they're talking about. And since the intent of the settlement was to decouple commissions, just do it and quit trying to find workarounds to return to the broker-centric model. The broker-centric model is dead. Stop it. At the end of the day, doing so is going to get you in trouble. You're going to get fined, and you're possibly going to wind up in court. And as I mentioned earlier, Violating the rules invalidates your coverage under the settlement for you and your brokerage. Think about that real hard. If you're still confused, if you're still struggling with this, lean into our training. We are still training and training and training and training. We've done the seminars, we've done webinars, we've done in-house training. We are still continuing to do so. We publish the dates when we're doing it. It's on the Benchmark Training and Events calendar. We've even given you buyer presentation templates and now listing presentation templates. All you have to do is plug in the information. We have done everything we possibly can do except sit at the table and do it for you. And now it's up to you to pick up the banner and move forward. And I'm confident you're doing that. Looking at our success rate on the compliance, that we are 100% compliant on the buyer rep agreements, I'm confident it's going to be fine. We just have to be patient, work our way through it. Keep in mind, we are not driving the bus. The clients are driving the bus. That's your key point. That really is it. That's what we've learned. I'm just about done here, but before we go, I want to say one more thing, and this is about NAR membership going forward. You received an email back in May from RealTrax that basically said the subject line was realtor requirement for RealTrax access removed. And then said, as of April 1st, 2025, the requirement to be a realtor for RealTrax access is removed. However, as I've said, association dues are paid January 1 to December 31, so you still need to pay your 2025 dues. The rules have not changed regarding this until April 1. You can drop your membership April 1 if you want to, but you still need to have the dues paid for 2025. They're not going to give you a refund, by the way. They're not going to allow a partial payment. So you might as well just go ahead and do it at the end of December. Pay your dues for 2025. The existing rules say that if you don't, it puts the entire company at risk of MLS access. Okay? We are working through that, those rules, those processes, all the meanings of this, what to do, and I can assure you that we will have a plan in place by early 25 for those who do not wish to remain a realtor. But don't arbitrarily go out and decide to not pay your dues thinking, well, let them chase me for it. Okay, that's fine. You're going to wind up getting your license released because we cannot put the entire company at risk. That's just how it works. When you get to April 1st and you want to make a decision, it's probably better addressed then because you will know what our plan is and what our structure is. But I can tell you that we've already engaged our attorneys to create a set of documents, our forms. So we are going to be doing that. I know that much so far. The rest of it is kind of nebulous. Because if you decide not to be a realtor, well, number one, you can't call yourself a realtor. So you have to be real careful about how you advertise yourself. In fact, one of our agents has already gotten 2 cease and desist letters because they misused the realtor brand. Class action lawsuits out the wazoo, and NAR sends a cease and desist letter to our affiliate because they used a word wrong. Okay, that's where we are. You also lose access to TAR forms. Okay, so we've got to replace those. The main focus here for Benchmark is to do nothing that inhibits your ability to have a career and sell homes, sell properties. We will not. That is my commitment. We will not do anything that puts that in jeopardy. So we got to work through this, but the main point I wanted to make here on this screen is you need to pay your dues for 2025. There's no skirting that right now. We'll deal with the rest of it later, and we'll talk about it more then. Again, our main focus is to help you. Our whole mantra here is service to others to improve the lives of others in everything we do, from the products we offer, to the tools we offer, to the commission systems, to everything, to the advocacy that we do, is based on you and ensuring that your career is successful as it can possibly be. That's my contact info in that QR code. It'll drop it into your phone, and you can contact me anytime you want to, and I'll give you the best answer that I know how to give when you contact me. So anyway, I hope that helped today. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings. I'm also looking forward to seeing everyone flourish in these changing times. Reach out to us if we can help you. Be better, be Benchmark.